rumble of the train blended with the quiet hum of midnight. Soft light flickered above, casting a warm glow over the passengers. Most were asleep, their heads resting on the cushioned seats, the rhythmic sound of the rails lulling them into peaceful dreams. But in the last car, tucked away from the crowd, a young woman named Lily sat by the window, gazing out into the dark. Her fingers absent-mindedly traced the raindrops sliding down the glass. Lily had been on the road for hours, heading toward an uncertain future. She was leaving behind a life she thought would last forever, a relationship that had grown cold, a job that no longer fulfilled her, and a city that felt like a cage. This journey was supposed to be a fresh start, but the weight of loneliness pressed heavy on her chest. As she stared out at the endless stretch of trees flying past, she barely noticed when the seat across from her was taken. A man, about her age, settled down, holding a worn-out book in his hands. He had dark, wavy hair and tired eyes that seemed to carry their own story. He flipped open the book but didn't read it. Instead, his eyes wandered out the window, just as lost in thought as she was. They sat in silence for a while, the train gently swaying. Lily was surprised when the man spoke first. "Couldn't sleep either?" he asked softly, his voice kind but weary. Lily turned to him and smiled faintly. "Yeah, something about trains. They always make me think too much." He chuckled. "Same here. It's like the sound of the tracks drags old memories out of you." They exchanged names. His was Alex, and from that simple beginning, a conversation blossomed. At first, it was just small talk about their destinations. Lily was headed to a new city, seeking a fresh start. Alex was traveling to visit his family, something he did every year. As the minutes stretched into hours, their words deepened. They talked about love, about loss, about the paths they had taken and the choices they regretted. Lily found herself telling Alex things she hadn't spoken aloud to anyone in years. There was something about the anonymity of the night, of the train, that made it easier to share the parts of herself she usually kept hidden. Alex listened carefully, his gaze thoughtful. He shared his own struggles too, his dreams of becoming a writer that had been put on hold for a corporate job, the heartbreak he never quite got over. Their stories intertwined, two lives that had followed different paths but carried similar burdens. The train rolled on through the night, the rain still pattering against the windows. Their words filled the quiet, creating a bubble of connection in the otherwise still cabin. Outside, the world seemed to blur as time passed, the landscape vanishing into the shadows. Hours passed, though neither of them noticed. Their conversation flowed seamlessly, each story drawing them closer together. There was a warmth in the exchange, a sense of understanding that was rare and beautiful. Lily found herself laughing at Alex's stories, her heart feeling lighter with every moment. His eyes sparkled when he spoke, and she could feel the passion he had once had for his dreams still simmering under the surface. "You ever think about going back to it?" she asked at one point, referring to his writing. "All the time," he admitted, "but life gets in the way. I think I've forgotten how to chase dreams." "Maybe it's not too late," Lily said softly, her words lingering in the air between them. He looked at her, his eyes searching hers. Maybe. There was a quiet intimacy in the way they looked at each other now. The barriers of strangers long dissolved. It felt as though they had known each other for years, their souls recognizing a shared longing in one another. The train became a world of its own, a place where time stood still and reality was suspended. Eventually, the clock struck 3 a.m. The train was due to arrive at Lily's stop in less than an hour, and the thought of parting weighed heavy on both of them. The magic of the night, of the connection they had built, seemed fragile in the face of the looming separation. "What happens now?" Alex asked quietly, voicing the question that had been hovering between them. Lily looked down at her hands, her heart aching. She didn't have an answer. "I don't know." The reality of their lives came crashing back. She had a new city to settle into, a future to build. He had his family, his job, his life elsewhere. The world outside the train was waiting for them both, and it didn't care about the connection they had forged in these fleeting hours. "I wish we had more time," she whispered. Alex reached across the table, his hand covering hers. "Maybe we'll meet again," he said, his voice soft but hopeful. But they both knew the chances were slim. Life had a way of pulling people in different directions. As the train neared Lily's stop, the weight of the goodbye pressed down on them. The train slowed, the lights of the station coming into view. Alex stood, helping Lily with her bag. They walked together to the door, the air between them filled with unspoken words. As the train came to a stop, Lily turned to him, her heart heavy. "I'm glad we met," she said, her voice breaking slightly. Alex smiled, a bittersweet expression on his face. "So am I." For a moment, they stood there, not wanting to leave the warmth of each other's presence. Then, with a deep breath, Lily stepped off the train. The doors closed behind her with a soft hiss, and she watched as the train slowly pulled away, carrying Alex back into the night. The platform was quiet, the rain still falling softly around her. Lily stood there for a moment, feeling the cold air on her skin, the warmth of Alex's touch still lingering in her memory. As the train disappeared into the distance, she felt a deep sense of loss. But there was also something else, a sense of possibility, of hope. In those few hours, she had found something she hadn't expected. A connection, fleeting as it was, that reminded her of the beauty of human connection, of the way two souls could meet in the most unexpected of places. She didn't know if she would ever see Alex again, but as she walked away from the platform, heading toward the unknown future that awaited her, she held on to the memory of their midnight conversation, the warmth of their connection, and the hope that, somewhere down the line, their paths might cross again. And if not, she would carry the memory of that midnight train and the man who had briefly, but beautifully, touched her heart.